Oh boy. YouTube trolls. Didn't we just spray for these? Now, hang on. I'm going to be nice about this. So, let's see. How do I say what I need to say and cushion the blow? Aha! We are on YouTube. We will pander to the medium. And what better way to pander to the medium than to superimpose a puppy over the video anytime I say something potentially upsetting. First, I find it astonishingly quaint that anyone would engage in the process of intratextual trolling, which is essentially what's being done here, with even a momentary belief that what they are doing would be original, would be effective, would be really anything except an expression of their own misanthropy and substandard, subpar personal psychological development and ability to extend integrity and identity through an abstract medium. In so doing, what one is essentially saying when one demonstrates that one has very different behavior standards for the internet than they do in real life is that they do not regard themselves as an abstract being. They do not regard themselves as a being whose thoughts are of primary importance. The reason I say that this is a developmental problem is that, to the best of my knowledge and in my experience, this is certainly borne out, everybody goes through a phase along these lines. And it runs completely asynchronous to normal chronological development, but is exclusive to one's chronological development on the internet, wherein they come to grips with the idea of interacting with other abstract entities and themselves as an abstract entity. The removal of accountability, so on and so forth, many of the sociological frameworks that inform and instruct our behavior are inapplicable in the internet. So we find, very often, grown men and grown women, when put in front of a keyboard and given the illusion, emphasis on the word illusion, of anonymity, they behave like children, and not even particularly gifted children. I say that this is largely a developmental concern, and I say that I've seen this before. Well, to date myself a little bit here, or at least give myself a pretty clear subcultural assignment, I've been on the net, at this point, just shy of 20 years, in one form or another. And you know, when I was 12, this sort of behavior was momentarily diverting. The sense of power seemed intoxicating, seemed interesting. The lack of accountability seemed intoxicating, seemed interesting. And yet I found a couple of things. First, that promise of power was hollow. You see, power that doesn't change anything isn't really power. So, if one should find that, say, one has the inability to change the general postures and positions of the person that one is addressing, this power is shown to be empty. This power is shown to be hollow. But even should one disequilibrate the person that they are addressing in such a way that they behave in a fashion that they normally wouldn't, this power does not affect any real change in the life of the participant. You see, it's really an exercise in glorification of one's own impotence. The other problem, anonymity, of course. We operate under guises here. It is with some irony that I wear the guise of my real name. The problem is that these guises serve as a sub-identity, or rather a digital identity, wherein the same structures of accountability apply. Now, one does have the option. One does have the option of completely breaking from social contract in digital communication, much as one does have the option of doing so in real life. The problem being that when one does so in the digital context, the consequences of that action are equivalent to what they would be in real life. When one is cut out of social contract, one is cut out of social contract. I think the difference, though, is that those persons who play at the rebel, who play at the revolutionary, who play at the outsider, who play at the disaffected, the disassociated, or the disenfranchised on the internet, have no real experience of it in their day-to-day life. This is the protracted playing out of a fantasy for them wherein they can pretend that they are the rogue agent, where they can pretend that they are the lone wolf, because they have the security of knowing that this has no bearing on their day-to-day lives. And their ineptitude, their utter ineptitude of operating as an independent agency is demonstrated with the way that they choose to effect this change in their quasi-identity, their digital identity. Essentially, you're playing in a medium that you don't understand. You're playing with identity constructs that are entirely foreign to you. As best as I can tell, your familiarity with these ideas is shaped largely either by the stand-up, I suppose we would call it comedy, of Andrew Dice Clay, or a loose mishmash of comic book and action movie stereotypes which are used to sell everything from sports cars to cologne. How does it feel to comport oneself quite intentionally as, at best, a journeyman's entry-level effort at a facsimile of sloganeering, advertising, misappropriation of all those terrible frustrations that you just can't figure out how to direct effectively, and at the end of the day, find that you haven't even really pissed me off?